Hey, good morning, everybody out there in YouTube land. It is your buddy Choppadong, and I have a special guest with us today, which is pretty interesting. So let me walk you through a little bit of what we're going to talk about today, what we're going to do going forward as NASCAR gets ready to rock and roll. You know that they start their season off with the Super Bowl, which is obviously the Daytona 500. So let's talk a little bit about some of the tools in the VIP program at dfsarmy.com. You know me, I'm a content editor. I represent dfsarmy.com. Coupon code CHOP, CHOP, triggers 20% off. You can find two links today down there in the comments section because I'm going to bring in our guest, Nilly J. Ryan, here in just a second to talk and guide you through not only some of the NASCAR tools that we have upcoming, but also his special VIP only sheet. If you follow Carnage Report and MLB and you follow some of the work that he's done for us inside DFS Army, you know the dude knows what he's talking about. So easy enough to follow me on Twitter at Choppadong. You know about March sweeps, you know all that good stuff. You also know to like and subscribe the videos out here on YouTube. Ryan's at Nilly J. You can see it right here. I called it up on the screen for you. And he would obviously appreciate a follow just as well. You can see his pinned tweeter. His first tweet 24 hours back was NASCAR related. He's obviously all over the NASCAR scene. DFS Army VIP membership. I told you the link will be in the bottom of the comment section. I'm going to put mine in there. I'm going to put his in there. I don't care which one you click. Either one lets the Army know that we're helping you and making you a better DFS player. So you can see the pricing here on the screen. Pick your option. Do what you want to do. Use code CHOP, CHOP, for 20% off. Use code NILLY, NILLY, for 20% off. Again, we don't care which one you do, just as long as you get in here and start becoming a better player today. We have a research station inside dfsarmy.com for our VIPs. All of the stats you could possibly look at. And I'm not Nilly's much better at NASCAR than I am. I'm the dummy. So he's going to guide me through this as I show you. But I just want to show you guys all these stats that I know nothing about. And I don't know that we'll talk about those today because we're going to be more focused on his sheet and his stuff. But the point is, he can walk you through that at another time if we want to go into that stuff. We also have the Domination Station Optimizer set up. It's going to be locked and loaded here in a couple of days. You click the slate, you click your site, you scroll down, you pick your drivers. You can rock and roll and make anywhere from 1 or 2 lineups to 150 lineups for your MME stuff. So hopefully you get all 6 guys through your Daytona race because we know that it's a crash fest and we know that it's more of a war of attrition than anything. But without further ado, let me bring Nilly in to say hello as I call up his sheet. He's going to be a little quieter because we're doing this very, very archaic style. You've got me yelling and screaming at the microphone. You've got Nilly J on the speaker on my cell phone through Skype because this is the only way we can really right now set up in my fancy schmancy video studio of my dining room table and my laptop and my cell phone. We've got to get him imported in there. Hopefully he's pointing at the microphone and you can hear him, but I'm just warning you, you're going to have to really pay attention. So close your doors, let your dog outside, do what you got to do to be able to focus on him because I'm just the talking head. He's the one with all the knowledge. Ryan, what is up, my man? How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Remember to speak up so they can hear you because, man, it's hard for me.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have this better next time around. This is kind of a short notice deal, so. All right. So
Absolutely.
I guess we can just dive into it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I've got your sheet called up here. I don't know what tab you want to start on.
let's start with the Dominators tab.
All
We'll
right.
start there for everything.
There you go. Now I've called up a lot of the drivers, and you said this racing scenario is actually a random race from last year that you want to walk us through, but it will be loaded with Daytona stuff here in the coming days, correct?
Right. Yeah. Please do not use any of this stuff for the clashes um, or the duels or anything, because none of this is relevant right now. This is all just kind of stuff I threw down just as a test here. Um, so any of you guys who were here last year, you probably remember the drivers list I had. I had the driver's name, had the format, they were used for, salary, starting position, very, very, very vague, and I had some notes with it, which is all good, but I know it's kind of difficult to try and, like, oh, what would he say about, Kyle Larson? I gotta scroll through all the notes. I wanted to make it easier to see all that, and rather than just saying, hey, this guy's good or whatnot, I wanted to put other things like the floor, the ceiling, and the likelihood of those drivers hitting their floors or ceilings. Um, that would kind of show you, I could say, Larson and Logano, for example, could both dominate, but well, which one do you like more? And then this will be able to show you, I think in this scenario, I think Logano has a better floor, and so forth. Um, that way you can hopefully make more informed decisions on who you're selecting, which is the whole idea of what we're doing. Um, it's pretty basic, pretty easy to figure out. Start on the very left. Format, we're either going to have all formats like Bush and Truex are. Um, we'll have some, not so much, but once in a while we'll see something that says cast, which basically means they have a good floor, but their ceiling, not so great. Or GPP, of course, tournaments only, high ceiling, low floor scenarios. Um, Next, we'll have the salaries for DraftKings and Fanduel, and then we'll have their starting positions. So all that's just basic stuff. And then the next one here, now any of you who've used my MLB stuff, you guys should be familiar with this color scheme, where you've got a dark red is very low, all the way up to that purple, which is like elite, like really really good. Um, so, for example, somebody like Truex in this scenario, he started in 38th. We know pretty much any race he's a top five contender. So he's going to have a very high floor, very high ceiling. And compare that to say Logano, who's 11th, could possibly finish about the same, but without all that place differential and that dominator potential, his floor and ceiling is going to be lower, which is why Truex has everything bolded, which means he's a top pick of mine. Whereas Logano just kind of, he's an okay pick. Um, and the same thing will be for all of them: dominator studs, value, and punts. All that's going to be the same. And then on next to that, you've got dom potential, which is for the dominators a likelihood, I think, of that driver being able to dominate a significant amount of the race. And when I say dominate, I don't mean just they're going to lead 5-10 laps here. I'm talking a quarter, a third, a half of the lead laps, a lot of laps, um, which is what we need the dominators to do. Um, so if we go over to the studs column here, this is all blank, so I'm sorry about all the white. Um, you'll notice everything's the same except we've got a new one that says finishing position likelihood. And that's because when we're getting studs, we're not so much concerned about them dominating, we're concerned about their finishing position, which is why we've got top 5, top 10 here. And then as you go down, if you go to value studs, values, and puns, you'll see that kind of increases a little bit. So you've got value studs, we're looking at top 10, top 15, value drivers, top 20, top 25, and so forth. That's just because when we select those drivers, that's kind of what we're looking for. We're not picking a value driver to finish in the top 5 for 6,000. That would be more of a value stud that's like really underpriced, but they've got a really high ceiling for that. So this is just some way I can kind of pinpoint, show those sort of drivers, kind of show who's worth more or less, and so forth.
I like that as you're going through and tabbing over from dominators to stud, you're kind of stair stepping it down, and as a result, your likelihood finishing position stair steps down as well because it's just not reasonable to expect them maybe to be posting top five. Otherwise, they'd be in your dominators tab, right?
Exactly, either that or if they're cheating, which will happen from the time to time, especially with guys like William Byron, Merrick Jones. They're going to be value studs a lot this year until their prices start getting cranked up. Just because they are kind of those special drivers that are cheap, but they do have that kind of potential to be a value stud versus somebody um, like last year, AJ Allmendinger. He usually started in that same area, but we don't expect him to even have that kind of potential, so he would just be in a value, for example. And then punts are the same. I mean, except for crazy things happening, we don't expect them at all to finish top 5, 10, 15. We're getting in for a really solid top 20, maybe top 25. So that's what the sheet is going to direct them towards. Some stuff that's going to be realistic, um, not something like wishful thinking, like, oh yeah, load up all these guys, those are all going to be in the top 5, which that would be a pretty poor job of me recommending that on a week to week basis. So
Yeah, but all the touts do it, so why aren't you going to do the same?
well, I want our bears to win, so.
I'm just messing with you. You have other tabs that are new this year that you wanted to talk about as well, right? Like the race calc and the lineup projector.
let's go to the race cop next. This should be something else that anyone who was with us last year will recognize, at least the top two boxes. Basically, this is kind of a first stop to look at things to say, okay, what kind of race are we going into? How should I approach this race? Which is what I'm huge on. If you ever get me on my channel at Nilly's Garage and MLB NAS, I am huge on theory on how to approach. So I mean, please come to me on these questions because I love discussing this kind of stuff. But anyway, now these are more well, kind of have, kind of not. The Daytona race is correct, but ignore the whole number of laps, all that stuff. That's all. Those are just numbers I threw in just for the purpose of this. So let's start at the top here. You have your Draftkings and your Fanduel sides because they're going to be a little bit different. Underneath that, we've got number of laps and number of drivers. Now you'll notice that the number of drivers is different on these two, and the reason for that is because there are some times to where one side or the other will actually not have a driver. So even though there are, like for example, there could be 40 drivers in the field, but Fanduel for whatever reason may not have Timmy Hill, for example, and he may just not be in the player pool. So I take that into account and put it in here. That way, everything is on. So if you see a difference on there, that's 99% of the time. That's why. If it's incorrect, and I'll definitely fix it. But that does happen from time to time. So after that, we've got the lighter shaded green on the left here. Laps led, fantasy points, fastest laps, and the finishing position. Those are just showing you how many points are available in this race, which of course is one thing you may or may not know, but every race is going to be different as far as how many maximum points there are, and that is entirely dependent on how many laps we have and how many drivers we have. So a race like Daytona this week, we would have got 200 laps. It's going to look a lot different than, say, Martinsville with 500 laps. There's going to be a lot more points available in that Martinsville because of that.
Maybe worth going through real quickly some of the fantasy scoring because you can very, very safely assume that I'm going to know nothing of what you're talking about.
Sure.
I'm assuming there are points given for laps led. Sorry if this bores a lot of people. And again, I apologize for the volume discrepancy, but this is a little bit important, for 30 seconds or so, just to briefly describe the scoring of NASCAR, I think.
Sure, absolutely. So the sites are mostly similar. There are some differences, but for the sake of the video, we'll just kind of focus on DraftKings. So there are first part dominator points, which are going to be the laps led and then the fastest laps. Whichever driver is scored as leading the lap, they're going to get a quarter of a point for that. And every time they are marked as the fastest car in the field for each lap, they're given the fastest lap point, which is half a point. Every position they finish up higher, they gradually get more and more points. So if you finish fifth, you get X amount. If you finished fourth, you get one more point. And then the winner of the race, because I think it's like three, off the top of my head, I believe it's 3 additional points. And then place differential for how many spots you moved up or moved down. So if you finish higher, or if you finish better than you started, you get a positive. If you start 10th and you draw back to 20th and that's where you finish, you lose 10 points. So that becomes a pretty big deal, especially with cheaper drivers, because that's a lot of times that's the only way they're able to contribute to your overall score. So, and those are just the main ones. Like I said, Fanduel's got a little bit different. They give you points for actually completing laps in place of fastest laps. So different strategies come involved there. But that's the biggest difference between the two.
Awesome. I think that helps a lot especially if there's people listening that don't play NASCAR. Like I don't play very often. When I do, I load up Domination Station Optimizer, kind of lock in a few that you guys are talking about and kind of play that way. But if anybody wants to dedicate themselves to actually learning how to play this game, obviously you got to understand the scoring system. And then what hopefully you guys are going to hear through parts of this video as we, briefly walk through some of this sheet and how cool this sheet is. You'll pick up on his knowledge, his inherent knowledge that, Nilly has, where this is what you are becoming VIPs for, is the knowledge and the access to guys like Ryan here and other guys that we have in other sports. And so if you want to learn a sport, there's no better place to come, peel off some of the knowledge, especially from a guy like this that's volunteering to give it out. So That's the best thing about it. I'll let you continue. That was my little mid-season commercial there, I guess.
Right on. Um, so underneath that, I'm sorry, next to that, we've got the grand totals. And then they display into the yellow boxes on the bottom here to just break things up into percentages. And this is kind of where I look first. Um, if you look at the Draftkings side, you see you got 21.78% for the dominator versus 78.22% for the finishing position. That means that about 1/5 of the total points in this race are going to come from those dominators. If you compare that over to the Fanduel side, you'll see there's a huge difference. You got
Yeah.
4.08% versus 95.92. Um, that comes into play with how many dominators you get on the. It wouldn't make sense to load up 3 dominators on FanDuel to go after 4% of all the fantasy points. It just
Right.
doesn't make sense to do that because they're not there. Um, like was on the DraftKings side, yeah, okay, we do want some dominators, but we don't want to go crazy on it because it's only a fifth. It's not skewed more towards like when we get to Martinsville with 500 laps, that number's gonna be a lot higher. So at that race, we're going to probably want more, but that's kind of for another day. But um,
No, but it's important to
so
point out because that's a major discrepancy between sites, which like baseball and
yeah,
stuff, we talk about know the scoring on the sites and know what you're trying to do on each site. And there's a perfect example of how they are mostly the same, but a little bit different. And in some cases, that little bit of different is very, very key in how you might
yeah,
attack your roster construction.
oh yeah, yeah, it makes it's pretty much what drives roster construction, in my opinion, at least the majority of the races. Um, Daytona is going to be a wild animal, but this is more, yeah, for the quote unquote normal races that we get. Which
Right. Very cool.
anyone who knows NASCAR knows nothing's really normal.
Awesome.
Um, so moving on down from there, this is the new addition to this year. Usually my notes or articles, I used to write all this, but I wanted a much easier way for people to find this. So I'm breaking this up between cash game approach and GPP or tournament approach. Um, so on the left here, we've got the cash game risk, and that should look familiar to everyone who's used it before. That was here last year, and then the number of dominators as well. Um, so every race, I kind of decide, how risky are cash games. For Daytona, this would be a dark red. It would say very high because cash games are very scary at late races, and I don't really recommend them. Um, but for the purpose of this video, like I said, this isn't correct. So please don't go load up on a bunch of cash ladders for Daytona because it's probably not going to end well. Um, so anyway, so we got cash game risk, and then next to that, number of dominators. It's going to kind of depend on a lot of little different things, but 2 to 3 for 350 lap race is about what I would recommend. I like to go for the fewest number of possible. I've said that plenty of times on my channel. If you can get by with 2 that gets all the lead laps, great, do it. But there's always a chance it could be 3. So anyway, underneath that is going to be one of the newer parts, the correlation, which this usually is in my articles, but again, I just wanted this to be easier for you guys. Um, so there's a few different types. We've got balance, stars and scrubs. You can see top heavy. There's bottom heavy. There's several others that'll pop in here from time to time. This just kind of says, um, in this example, we've got a balanced construction, 2, 3 dominators. Um, so you would kind of get a couple dominators, maybe a mid guy or 2, and then some cheaper guys. Versus stars and scrubs is going to be real heavy on let's get 3 expensive dominators and just go super cheap on the rest and hope for the best. And then on the other side, you've got on the far right, top heavy, which is basically kind of like Stars and Scrub, but even more so, to where you're just cramming as many expensive guys as humanly possible, and then getting like 1 or 2 just super punts and hoping for the best. Um, those are kind of riskier, which is why those ones are more over on the GPP side. Whereas on the cash game side, you don't need to do that. You can win cash games with a more balanced lineup in this scenario that I've made for the video. And again, please, if you guys have any questions, hit me up in Slack. We'll talk about it. I'll explain my reasoning. I'll usually do that in notes anyway. But I try to guide you guys towards what kind of lineup construction correlation is going to work best for each race because it will definitely vary week to week. and just hammering stars and scrubs every week is not going to get you to where you want to be. So
Cool.
but that's going to be the most of that. Like I said, that's just kind of a first stop. Kind of look at it. I'll usually update this like pretty much Sunday or Monday before the next week. Some of this will be up way ahead of time. Um, as soon as we know how many drivers are in there, of course, sometimes it's midweek before they let us know that, but everything else I'll have in there pretty quickly. So that about wraps that part up. So I guess we can move on to the next one whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Cool. So lineup projector, this is going to be, this is new, that I actually personally used this all last year as I was tweaking it to help people with coaching and whatnot. But I decided this year that it's time to, it's ready, it's good to go, it's time to put it up. So that's what I did. Um, so at the very top here, we got same thing, got laps and total number of drivers. That'll just kind of carry over just so you can see that at a glance. Um, Monster Energy series, is where we're at now. Then on the site, if you click on that, you'll get a little drop-down menu, and you can switch between Draftkings and Fanduel. Decided on that originally, I was just doing the Draftkings part. I think it was last week I decided, I'm just going to go ahead and get the Fanduel part out now before while I still have time to do it. So if you click that, you'll see a couple things change. You'll see that the fastest will turn over to comp or completed. You'll also see a big black bar pop up because there's only 5 drivers on the Fanduel side, so those are etched out. A couple of little differences here and there, but basically it'll let you switch between the two.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the drivers on the right, we've got DraftKings, FanDuel, driver salary, and their starting position. And again, with the drivers, I just took a random CSV file from my recycle bin and threw it in here from Xfinity race apparently. So again, none of this is relevant for this week at all. I don't even know, not even all. Yeah, anyway, so I just kind of added in a couple on the FanDuel side just for testing purposes. So that's all this is, just as an aside. So anyway, what this is useful for, there's a few different ways you can use it. Primarily, you can, if it's for hand building lineups, you can plug it in here instead of plugging it into the app, which you can certainly do that, just to kind of see who fits. But when you do it into the app, you're not really, you can see the numbers, see the drivers, but you can't really, like, oh, well, what happens if this guy finishes here? What if this guy leads this many laps? You can't really do that with an app or with, like Draftkings or FanDuel app, but you can do it in here, which is why I made this. So if we put a list together, like I think I sent you the one that had the one with Christopher Bell on it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. If you want to pull that up.
Got it.
So we can see what a full lineup would look like here. And all these numbers here, it'll show you how much salary you've used and how much is either remaining or how much you're over. And then you're going to see a totals category, percentage of category and percentage of total fantasy points. So the totals, of course, are just showing how many fantasy points you're getting for each finishing position. So in this example, we've got first, fifth, third, and so forth. We're showing that in that lineup, we're getting 177 fantasy points just from finishing position. Is that correct? Yeah, I'm sorry. So
no, you're fine.
Points from position. Yeah, sorry. I just had to make sure that's what that was. And then underneath that, it says percentage of category. That's showing that out of all the fantasy points available for finishing position, we're getting 18.77% of them, and we're getting 14.68% of all of the fantasy points available for this race. And that'll come into play a little later. Just kind of point that out for now. Next, we got differential. We're showing, like Christopher Bell got an extra 12 points for there because he won that race. Henrik lost a point or a couple points because he dropped back a couple spots and so forth. And they're showing, okay, this lineup is getting 38 points for replace differential, which is cool. And then same with lead and fastest. We're showing we led 300 laps and we had 260 fastest laps, and that was those percentages and so forth. And we've got the grand total 343 fantasy points is what this lineup would have earned. And then we can see the value. Christopher Bell had a 17x value, Henrik had a 505, and so forth. So right away you can kind of see the kind of things this would be useful for, to see, give yourself a realistic floor and ceiling for a lineup. Like if you're trying to, like say you're trying to do like a big, you're trying to win a qualifier or something, you've got a big expensive single entry. So you want to put a lineup in here, what you want to put, and then give it some realistic, or see what it would take for them to be able to hit certain marks. If you flip back over to the projector on this on the tool, you'll see that it says the max fantasy points and then the percentage of total fantasy points. Those are in orange.
Yep.
Underneath that, we've got a target for 25 and a target for 33. And I chose those numbers because on average for most races, um, I saw that if you hit about 25%, you're going to pretty much nail all your cash games. If you hit 33%, that's about where you're looking at, like, trying to win those big tournaments and so forth. Of course, it'd be higher or lower, it depends on how the race shakes out. But on average, those are pretty decent aim, goals to shoot for. Um, you don't want to get a lineup that's only getting 20% of all the points, and then hope that that's going to win you a big tournament because it's not. But if you get one that could realistically somehow hit 40%, if the race plays out in your favor, yeah, that's probably going to be enough to win it. So that's just kind of a tool to help you gauge, how good or bad or how much potential your lineup has or doesn't have.
Now, would that be something that I would watch as I'm building a lineup to maybe see I like these particular drivers and it's showing better on the 25% target versus it's not quite high enough for the 33%. So maybe I would lean more towards cash games with that lineup.
Yes, pretty much, yeah. You could use it like that, or you could say, well, I'm trying to do the GPP, but oh man, this line's only getting 25, so maybe maybe something's off here. Then you can look at who you have. Oh well, in this scenario, we'll look at David Starr's only getting me 2.79x value. Like, well, if that's not a whole heck of a lot, so where could I get more for my money? And that's kind of where this whole
Okay.
thing kind of helps out at. Which is what that bottom scenario would be. Back on the other sheet for you with Clements and Ty and Lawson. The other way I use a sheet is exactly for that reason, is to put in guys in the same um, price range. Here we got 6,900 to 7,200, to kind of see, I put them on, look at them all, and kind of compare them, see what we can get out of them. Again, for the purpose of the video, I just put 20th for finishing all of them. I just threw that on there just to kind of make a point here. But if we'll just say that's how the race would be. We'll say all four of these guys are probably going to finish about 20th, give or take a couple spots. So we'll just plug that in. Okay, well, how's everyone look? Now, for people who have a lot of experience with this is going to be pretty easy. They're going to be able to look at it and say, okay, yeah, Ty, he's starting fourth. Yeah, if he finishes there, he's going to take a lineup. So, they're automatically going to dismiss him unless they think they can actually finish in the top, three or so. But for newer people, especially, this will really help because they can, start doing kind of things like this and actually do this and figure, okay, well, logically, who makes the most sense to go with. So for this example, if they all finish about 20th, we know Garrett Smith looks pretty good because he's going to have the most place differential and, he's going to score some most points. So ceiling wise, we know he's got the highest ceiling and probably floor too because he starts back up to where if he only finishes, 35th or so, he won't absolutely take a lineup. Whereas if, Ty did that, he would. Um, this is a really basic way of showing it. I usually use this more for like mid-range guys, like a couple like 7,500 guys who have the potential to finish high, get some fastest laps, and just kind of see and sometimes it's only a point or two, just to see who kind of edges each other out for tournament purposes. For cash, usually it's pretty easy to figure out. Smithley, he's the cheapest, he has the highest floor and ceiling. Go with him because he's easy way out. But for tournaments, sometimes there might be some different ways we can go, and this is what this would be for.
Okay. And that's obviously what the coaching is for inside the channels
Yeah,
is to ask you guys those types of questions. And instead of, hey, what's my lineup look like? It's more like, hey, I'm thinking everybody's going to be on Smithley because of what this says, but yet if Ty holds on and actually has a sneaky shot at winning the race, he ought to be lower owned because people aren't going to see that, and then I maybe be able to capitalize on the field there.
Exactly.
Those types of strategic conversations happen all the time, and that's the beautiful part about it. And I mean, I got to tell you, just in this 30 minutes we've been doing, first of all, I've never talked less in a video that I've hosted in my life. But no, you're fine. No, I think the world appreciates that. Um, but secondly, I've learned more about NASCAR in 20 minutes than I ever knew. And I think that's a beautiful thing because there's a little bit of interest in that sport. I hear that we have huge edges over the casual fan, and I think that that's important for people to know is that the fewer people play a sport in a lot of cases, the fewer sharks are in there, therefore your edge is as big as it's going to be. Or the less it's known, less it's popularly talked about strategy wise, the harder it is for people to learn it, and therefore they don't want to put in the effort to learn it. And we give you the tools and we give you the access to the coaches, and you can see just in what 5 years of playing DFS, I've learned more in 20 minutes of NASCAR talking to you than I ever have ever before. And so that's pretty cool. And you've piqued my interest. And I always like to goof with Daytona. You might keep me around for part of the season, if not all of the season, based on
Sure.
this well, based on this particular this tool, I mean, I love your Carnage report in baseball. This is actually really pretty cool, and it's very self-explanatory. It's very pleasing to the eye. The graphics are great. The color scheme is great. You've simplified it. And for newer people, I think that's very, very important is to keep it very simple up front. And then if you want to nerd out on NASCAR, you can take it as deep as you want to take it as you grow and as you learn more. And that's the beautiful part about you and some of the other guys over there in the coaching room is you guys can handle any depth of conversation from the very, very simple to the complex. And that gives me room to come in there, not feel embarrassed or ashamed about not knowing squat, and then grow and start asking more and more sophisticated questions as I learn more from you guys. And that's what makes the VIP membership so darn valuable at the price points because that's what you unlock is you unlock access to those. So before I give you final say, and if you want to talk another 5 or 10 minutes, I'm sure that's fine. I just wanted to remind people those links are down there, both yours and mine. Click whichever one you want, use whichever code you want, and get in here before Daytona starts because the content's going to start coming, and baseball's coming soon, and NBA's winding up, and hockey's in full swing. And just because football's over doesn't mean that we stop talking daily fantasy sports. So really, really cool. What else did you have to say?
There's tons of play left.
Oh, absolutely. What else did you have to say about these sheets in particular?
A couple just quick notes because I know it's going to be asked. I'm sure the first question is going to be, well, if I put a lineup together, how do I know what to put in for these? Finish, lead, and fastest. I've got two answers for that. One is experience. The more you do this, the more you're going to kind of get used to the drivers and think, you know, like Christopher Bell in that example. We know he's pretty much a top three guy, pretty much any race. But there's some other drivers you just kind of get a feel for them. Second, ask us. I mean, Taco, myself, our newer guy, Ryan Larkin, he's in here now. We all know this stuff pretty well, and we can give you pretty good if things go the way the race should go. We're not talking about if somebody wipes out and wipes out half the field on a random Michigan race, which somehow has happened. We're not talking about crazy scenarios like that. We're, at least for myself, I'm going to tell you, this is the more realistic places these guys can drive, and that's all going to be all my notes and all that stuff too, and in this sheet as well. So you're not just going to plug in numbers blindly. Um, Second note here with how this all works, and I do have to apologize when I have an Excel version of this which I use personally, and I've got these two nice buttons on the bottom that reset everything. Unfortunately, those controls do not work when we upload them to the website here, which means in order to delete them, you have to double click on a box to highlight it and then hit backspace and then click somewhere else. So I do apologize about that. It's not as quite as intuitive as I was hoping, but that's just kind of a limitation with it. Um, so there's really only four boxes you need to worry about. It's just a driver on that drop-down menu, and then the three orange ones, finish, lead, and fastest. You can type in those. All the other boxes are just going to be fully automated, so you don't have to worry about doing all that yourself. So just kind of a note for everybody.
Perfect.
And when I'm going to do an article on this as well to kind of get some things out, and there might be a couple little things here and there I forgot to mention, and I'll make note of it in there. And if there's a bunch of questions being asked, I'll just update that article as time goes on to to navigate and help navigate through everything.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what. Again, for the final time, I'm going to apologize about the volume discrepancy. So there's no need to comment on the video and tell me that I'm loud and he's quiet. We know that. We're hoping that we can get.
Actually,
What's that?
I got one more thing I wanted to do before you kick me off here. I wanted to congratulate a bunch of our members. We had the clash last night and we just destroyed it. Just want to start here on the winning laps. I know you like doing this. I'm gonna do it for you. JSSMKSK played $73 and he won 220. Let's see, who else we got here? Team Bruce played 135. Oh, this is a nice one. Walked away with $2,649.81.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
He's been playing well in NBA and stuff too. I mean, he's having a good year.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. We just had a bunch. Let's see, DJ Pro, I probably pronounced that wrong. Looks like he played about a little more. He played about 230 some. Looks like he won 900 some. And they're just after the race is concluded, there were just tons of these. I mean, just hundreds here, 1,000 here, there. You guys, just congratulations to everyone. Just really happy with the way the season started. Even some guys were brave enough to play cash and they won their cash games. And
nice.
If it was only a few bucks, congratulations to you guys too. I don't care how much you win. I just like seeing green for our members. Be it $3 or $300,000. I'm happy for everybody. So
100%.
Congratulations on that again. Keep it up, and hopefully the whole year we just keep blowing through it and making everyone a little bit richer.
That's awesome, and thank you for going through the winning lineup stuff because for whatever reason, it was not on my mind with all this other stuff that we were talking about today. So that was huge, and thanks for the idea of putting this video out to people. I'm going to save this. We'll put it in an article format, of course, and honestly, we'll probably retweet this thing a couple of times this week for people to catch up on. Again, hats off to you and for the Carnage Report. Your Excel spreadsheet type talent that you're really good at simplifying these things for people, and it's an honor to have you as part of the team. And so, again, whatever link people click is great, but that's how people like Nilly, make a little bit of extra coin so that they can continue to keep doing this kind of stuff, putting this stuff out there. So as always, like and subscribe the video for me or whatever. Click his link, click my link, use his code, it doesn't really matter to me, but he's the one doing a lot of the helping here and he's the one doing a lot of the teaching here. So obviously that's why I'm putting his link in the comment section down there for you guys too, to kind of drop a little coin in the tip jar for him. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I mean,
I'll tell you, she likes taking all the extra money and going to Ross or Marshalls or something. So she'll say thank you as well.
At least she's smart. She's not running to Saks.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because again, it's coins dropping in the tip jar. It isn't $100 bills. Either way, man, it's awesome. I'll go ahead and close out the video here unless you have anything super important to say to people that I forgot.
No, just again, just thanks for having me. To our members, thanks for being there with us. No questions too dumb, so please don't ever hesitate to ask us anything. Especially me, because I don't care what kind of question you ask me about DFS. I will do my best to answer for you. I don't want anyone to feel intimidated or feel like, oh, this is a dumb question. I don't want to get laughed at. Trust me, I've heard worse. Any question you may have, I've heard worse. So just bring it on.
Absolutely. Thanks again. I'll go ahead and close it out for Chapadong and for Nilly J. This is a little bit of a NASCAR preview of what's coming this year. I know we're going up on 40 minutes, so we'll go ahead and just cut it off. But thanks again for everybody for liking and subscribing to the channel, ringing the notification bell, doing what you got to do to help us spread the word. We really, really do appreciate it. And, for me and for Ryan, until next time, peace out, guys. We will see you when we see you.